Cool. God, he's happy to be in. Did you have a good day?
Yeah.
Right, so I've gone over this whole car and everything works. All the electricals are fine, so no, there's no electrical problems with them. Charge rate's all good. All the lights are working, everything's working fine. So before I pull it apart, I want to make sure everything's cool, so I know I don't have to run into problems later on. Been over the whole thing underneath, and it's much better underneath than it is on top and inside. But it's full of bog, home paint job, and it's got hail damage as well. But this is where a lot of people pull cars apart and then lose interest, and the classifieds are full of half-done cars, and they're not done terribly well, a lot of them. I've decided to change this card. I've just had a rust repair section welded in the bottom. Absolutely beautiful piece of work. So that'll go onto the left-hand front. Snap lock sandwich bags are great for bag and tagging. Everything can be put in boxes and stored until we're ready to put it back together. But unfortunately, it's a good running, operating car now. Worn out, but everything works in it. We've got to reduce it to something that doesn't go. A lot of cars are pulled apart and get shelved, and this was certainly one of those cars. This is a pre-war 1937 Wolseley, a 6-cylinder car with suicide doors and all the rest. Beautiful car, all the chrome's been done. That's another job that I need to do. Sold the Galaxy, just finished off this. This is another Wolseley as well. Good cheap car to do up, very retro, and there's a stack of parts that can be had for these at very reasonable prices. So I reckon it's time to do an Aussie car. I've done a couple, and also, you know, the American cars as well. But this one, because they're so hard to get in good condition, I jumped at this, and I think we'll make headway with this now. And a reason for that is I also like to vary what I'm doing. I like to do an Aussie car, you know, play with an American car, do a British car. I did an MG a while ago, a few other cars like that. So that's the sort of thing I like to do. Getting a bit ahead of ourselves, trying these American racing torque thrust wheels, just to see how they look against the shape of the car, and they look absolutely brilliant. Not sure if I'm going to go with these. These are actually for my brother's 68 fastback GT Mustang, which is sort of debating whether to use or not. Also off that car is this 351 Windsor block, which is pulled apart. I drove the car a couple of years ago and it drove quite well. This block's in really, really good condition, so I'm going to go with this instead of using the Cleveland. I'm using the Cleveland for a different project. So we're still pulling things apart. I'll pull the engine out today. But what's really disconcerting are the floors. Now this is a rubber mat car, and what the people have done, the previous owners have done, I've cleaned this up a little bit, but there's holes here and there, so it's going to need a couple of floors in it. But they've put deadener down and then covered it in newspaper, which has effectively sealed moisture under the mat and just gone straight through the floor. That deadener is great for hiding problems, but it hides moisture as well, or at least it holds moisture underneath if it's not prepared properly, and creates trouble like this. So this is a little bit disconcerting, but for a car this old it's not surprising. You can see there's holes over there, so it's got to be stripped back to a bare shell and taken in and had new floors and so forth welded in. How are you, Sue? How are you, Herbie? Can't honestly say I really know what I'm doing here. I've never pulled one of these apart. I've got much more experience on the later Falcons, and not these earlier ones. I just don't want to damage this plastic bit in the center. It's held on with sort of tabs, and I want to take this around off so I can get a better look at everything, see how it all fits. Pretty easy after all, just these little black clips. Just I've never taken one off, and I just didn't want to break anything. Better be safe than sorry, I suppose. And they just pop out. They're really, really easy, really simple. So we'll bag and tag all this, so we know exactly how how everything goes. Coolant's really clean. Oh, getting there. Might take that fan off to give us a bit more clearance. Not sure whether to take the engine out with the transmission because I think it's going to be awfully high. It's quite a long thing, so it might be better to take the transmission off separately, or at least unbolt the transmission from the engine, just leave the engine straight up. Okay. Slowly but surely. And undo the exhaust, I think now. Right, got the motor ready to come out. Taking all the wiring off, taking the selector rod off, taking the engineer strap off, taking the transmission cross member off, speedo cable, or speedo drive cable. We've got the engine just sitting against a block of wood at the back there. Undone the mounts. Fuel line, haven't done the fuel line yet, but we're all ready to go. Such a long motor. I'm starting to crap myself. I feel like that Bangladeshi bloke, Lipu. Awfully high. Just drop them down. Yuck. Don't like this at all. I'm almost touching the ruddy roof. If I can pick it up the back. Oh, that is horrible. Look how high it is. There we go, all out. Well, there's the 221 motor. That's a great motor. The coolant that came out's nice and clean. I thought it had a bit of bearing rumble when I first started it, but I didn't hear it since. It seemed to have pretty good oil pressure. Some of the knocking could have been this too. This mount's all loose. So I reckon it's in really good condition. Absolutely no smoke. It's a really good motor. Great for somebody with a Cortina or an XW Falcon like this. So I might sell it on. I should really put it back in the car, but I really want a V8 in this car. Keen to get a look under here. See how we are for rust. Really important to look in these areas. This one looks fairly good. All down here on the sill. It actually looks really good. So that's a win. You know, we've had a bit of a disappointment with the floors, but yeah, that doesn't look too bad at all. I'll take this inner guard panel off. But that really looks pretty good. I'm impressed with that. Well pleased with it. The inside of the guard. This is the Ripley guard, which I'm going to get rid of. But you know what? It's pretty clean as well. Rust-wise, it's a bit of a minter, you know. It's just Ripley. It needs somebody with a bit more experience than I have, just to straighten it out. What are you doing? And here we have our lovely little 351 Windsor. I drove the car this was in a couple of years ago. My brother stripped it apart. It was out of his Mustang. He's changed his mind and gone for a dart block 427 small block sort of thing. This comes with lots of goodies. Manifolds under there and Lunatic cam and all sorts of things. Gaskets, bearings, rings, you name it. So I've got to build that for the car. And say goodbye to this one. So these are known for being torquey. Nice and torquey. I've got the Cleveland 351, but I'm going to use that in a different project. Well, I've taken the heater box out to have a look behind here, and it looks really, really good. There's a few little rust spots, but nothing's broken through, so I can repair that. And of course the floors I'll give to another bloke to cut out and weld new ones in. I haven't labelled that yet. That's the door switch. Good idea to wrap masking tape around any loose wires you take off, or any wiring you take off, and label it so you know exactly what it's for when you go and put it together. Just the same as it's a good idea to bag and tag. You must bag and tag, otherwise you lose your way. This is the heater box. The coolant coming out of the heater coil was absolutely mint. It was so clean. Got to be very careful with these. They're like a composite sort of material, and they break very easily. The Galaxy one I had tremendous trouble with, and I ended up having to repair it. For a car with such a good body though, I'm just astounded at how much damage is on the inside. Water must have literally been swilling around in here. This is the problem with rubber mats. Carpet would have felt damp. Rubber mats are dry on the top because you can't see what's underneath. They're really, really bad at trapping moisture. So this is all going to have to be fixed up. But we're slowly getting there. Alright, well, just giving the cylinders a light hone. I like to build the engine while I'm doing the body work. That way you get a break from doing one and you can sort of concentrate on the other. Sort of breaks the monotony. So that's as much as I'm going to disassemble for today. I've got to continue tagging and putting things away, so I know where everything goes. I'm going to continue to pull the car apart down to a bare shell and then send it off for repairs, and I'll upload another video. See you later.